You speak of tough decisions the commissioner may have to make. Players have to make a tough decision. So far, more than 40 have made that decision to opt out for the 2020 season. And there's a looming dispute, negotiation, stress point, whatever we want to call it, regarding the deadline for opting out. Now, it's been 10 days since the NFL and the NFL Players Association worked out their comprehensive agreement for football in a pandemic. The safety issues, the financial issues, everything. Revising the CBA, on which the ink still wasn't completely dry from March, they basically renegotiated the CBA to allow for football this season. They haven't gotten it finished yet as they haggle over language. And the problem is, Chris, the way that they agreed to the opt-out procedure, the players have 7 days from the moment the agreement is finalized. Well, 10 days after the agreement was informally finalized, it's still not formally finalized and signed, sealed, and delivered, so the 7 days hasn't started yet. And you've got all these guys opting out, and the NFL now wants to restrict the opt-out deadline. So they're renegotiating one of the terms of the agreement that they've yet to finalize to give the players less time to opt out. I was told last night that as part of those talks, the NFL is making other concessions, and at the end of the day, it may be a good thing for the players that they agree to move the opt-out deadline to Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, and they get something else in return from the NFL for it. Now, until we know exactly what else the players get for that, I'll have no opinion on whether or not that's a good deal for the players, because I personally think more time is better than less time for the players to make a decision on whether or not they're going to opt out of the season. You want to be at practice. You want to be on the field. You want to see how it feels. Ideally, you want to play in a game. Ideally, you'd have the opportunity like baseball players do to opt out at any time. Any given day, I can't do this anymore, I'm out. The NFL clearly doesn't want that hanging over their heads. They want to know who's in or who's out ASAP, and it could be that Tuesday or Wednesday of this week is when that deadline comes. Speak now or forever hold your peace. You're either all in or you're all out.
Yeah, well, it's tough. It really is. I can see both sides of the story here, okay? I mean, one, when you first see it, you go, oh, it's a little insensitive. Come on, these are tough times. Let these players have some time. Now, they have been there for, we're getting, over a week now to where they can evaluate it to a degree as well. But where I do have at least a little bit of sensitivity towards the NFL, because I don't think this is just like the owners and Roger Goodell sitting there going like, we got to we got to make less time for these guys to make a decision. I think they're probably hearing it from coaches too, who were like, well, we'd like to know who's on our team a week from now. Or, start building a team with, okay, here's a deadline. Guys, you got to opt in or opt out. Okay, here's the line. Now we know what our team is. They don't want to keep guessing here and going, well, we might need a whole new right side of our offensive line. We're not sure yet, but we're going to wait until these guys make a decision. So you have to be sensitive to the NFL and the coaches from that standpoint too. And that's where I get it a little bit. I do. So I wish they can find some common line here. I mean, not that it has to happen tomorrow. Maybe it doesn't have to be a week, maybe just a few more days. But I totally get the NFL's perspective here. But yeah, you do have to be a little careful here. Like you're saying, I understand it. It is sensitive. This is not an easy decision to make. But what I will argue is it's different than baseball. Hey, baseball, you can go home. Yeah, and, okay, they put in a second baseman and he plays, and then you miss a few games and you come back, and that's no big deal. It's just not the same as football. There's more moving parts. There's more coaching, and I think that's where it's probably getting a little tough for some of these organizations right now.
What I'm told is that teams have two specific concerns, Chris, about this indefinite window for opting out. Because, the 7 days doesn't even start to run until they finalize the deal, and they haven't finalized the deal. Who knows when they're going to finalize the deal? And there's an incentive at some level for the NFLPA to maybe drag their feet a little bit to give the players more time. Two concerns, though. Number one, as players are starting to get that sense as to whether or not they're truly part of the plans for the season, some of them are saying, I'll just take the stipend. I'm out.
I hear you.
I'm going to get cut anyway.
Right.
I'm going to get $150,000, $350,000 if you fall into the high-risk category. The problem is, and this I've yet to get a clear answer to this, if you don't make the team next year, do you have to pay the money back? Now, I don't think the teams want to worry about chasing around guys who got the stipend this year to pay back the money if they don't make the team next year. I think from a PR standpoint, that just looks bad.
Yes.
That the teams would be trying to squeeze $150,000 here and there from guys who took the money at a time of need as part of something that was offered to them to get them through a season without compensation, without being able to play football. But there's a sense that it's not in good faith for these guys who feel the axe falling on their careers, saying, I opt out. I mean, it's basically the old quit before you get fired.
Right.
And if you quit, you get yourself a nice little package on the way out the door. That's one concern. The other concern, and I have yet to hear of anyone specifically doing this, and I think there's a PR reason for that. There's a concern that some agents are using the threat of an opt-out as a way to try to get more money, try to get new deals, try to finalize extensions for their clients. But you know what? I look at that and I say, hey, for some guys, whether or not you get a raise, whether or not you get that new contract, whether or not you get more money is a factor in whether or not you play this year.
Sure.
If you're saying to a guy, hey, your salary's $1 million this year, you have to decide whether or not you're in or you're out. The guy may say, well, it's really not worth me taking that risk for myself and my family for that compensation with all the other risks I take.
Right.
But then you throw on top of it a new contract with a big signing bonus and an extension and guaranteed money and this, that. Oh, well, hey, you know what?
It is
Maybe
worth
I'm
it.
willing to take the risk now.
Right.
I mean, that's part. It's a stew of factors. It's not just one issue, up or down, in or out. A lot of stuff goes into it. And how much money you're getting and how much money you're giving up, Chris, has to be part of that analysis. So I don't have a problem with it. I just think the teams realize that, they're used to always having the leverage. On this issue, they don't, and it makes them uncomfortable. So let's slam this window so these agents and players don't have the leverage.
Yeah, well, I think as it pertains to what you're, that specific part of the topic, I agree with you. I think, the NFL, the teams for the first time ever are like, whoa, we don't have the power of the leverage here. The players do. And they're holding it over our heads. And I'm sure, I think it's a very real aspect. I'm sure that's going on behind the scenes. The other part of the taking advantage or bad faith, it's something that I thought kind of popped out right away. You're seeing some of those guys who are, again, just to look behind the curtain in an NFL team, right? 90 guys go to camp. Hey, a lot of those guys know what battle they're fighting. That seventh receiver or sixth receiver who's on a certain teams, he's looking at the team going, well, I'm going to have to hope somebody gets hurt or two guys get hurt. He knows where he is in the pecking order and whether he's not going to make the team or is he going to make the team or what role he'll have. So, yeah, I think that has jumped out to me, Mike. Guys in like year 8 and 9 where you go, ooh, they could be veteran casualties this year, and they're at a point in their career where they've saved some money and they might just go, I'm not sure I was going to make the team anyways, so I'll just take the money. Or you see that, younger guy where you go, I've never really heard of him, or he's not a big name, or, ooh, I'm not sure he would have made that team anyways this year, and he's taking it too. And it crossed my mind, certainly, but you're right, that option's out there, so it's hard to argue it, and the NFL ain't going to look good if they're chasing these guys around to be paid back next year. So I think they're just going to have to, swallow the pill on that one.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.